Hey, my beautiful listeners, we are back with season 3 of The Beautiful Side of Grief, and I'm your host, Helen Morris. My incredible guests continue to share their own personal stories of grief in so many different forms, and how they have managed to find the positives and beauty from their experiences. And I hope by listening to these honest, heartfelt accounts, you can find the tips, insights, resources, and strategies you need for where you are right here and now. And maybe one day even find your own beautiful side to your grief. So share away, as I would love this podcast to reach as many who need to hear it as possible. And don't forget to check out the episode notes as well for more information and links. Plus, the energy healing I do that changed my life forever. And this season, I'd love to share the affirmations and meditations I'm working on also, so stay tuned for those. Right now, though, my thanks to you for listening in, and let's check out who this week's guest is. Have you ever hit rock bottom, just wanted to escape it all by any means possible? Maybe this is you even right now. Maybe the grief you've experienced has laid bare a host of emotions you just want to disappear. I get it. If this is you, keep listening, as my guest today, Bissett, despite growing up in a good family, put himself through years of self-sabotage and degradation that took him from potentially highly successful life opportunities to teaching English in a foreign country for $15 an hour. Over several decades, he perfected the art of self-sabotage in all its forms, in all areas of his life. Yet, here he is today to help you know that your grief is an opportunity to reflect, appreciate, and regroup, that you can indeed get back on top of your life just like he has. He does it through a system he created called Amo Ni. This helps you find your emotional blocks, move them, and build a foundation of positivity to effect lasting change in your life. So this is what we're going to explore today. The intention I'm setting for this episode is to leave you with an understanding that regardless of what you are facing and for how long, you can heal from this. I want you to have hope and know that this is possible. I'm sending you loads of love, light, and hope to help you on your way, so take good care. And Bo, I'd like to welcome you to the beautiful side of grief. It's great to have you spending the next hour with me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It really is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak to you because this is something close to my heart, the topic that we're going to be discussing today. Now, I know from my own experiences of grief that you get stripped away of many, if not all, of the protective layers that you have in place. And that's when the self-limiting beliefs and behaviors can really come out from hidden depths, rearing their ugly heads. I know with the grief I'm going through right now, I immediately went to everything I love gets taken away from me. That was my go-to, and that was pretty heavy. So let's start by understanding what self-sabotage looks like so that our listeners may identify with these behaviors themselves.
Sounds good. Yeah, self-sabotage. I mean, it can be so subtle. Like in my instance, like, when I tell my story, it's like, oh my God, really? You did that? But it can happen on it can be the things, because the programs that we install as children that our subconscious installs, because as soon as we're born, or actually not long after we're conceived, the subconscious is like just grabbing onto every emotion and energy that we experience to make sense of the outside world. And, that dictates how we view the world and how we experience the world. And so that also influences the things that we say, the things that we do, the things that we think, the things that we feel, the energy that we give off. So these emotions, these emotional programs they set the stage for how we're going to experience life, or how we're going to go about living life. And it can be, so when the subconscious, when we get into a similar instance as the first program, then the subconscious cues that response, cues that emotion. And we can, it can be something as subtle as just a word that we say, or a way or a gesture. And those things can end up like costing us a job or costing us relationships, or having a simple conversation escalate into a fight. So, I mean, the self sabotage can be so subtle.
Have you got a few examples, like, the types of words that we use without realizing we're using them that actually are self-sabotaging?
I mean, it could be just anything as small as the word like "but," right? I love you, but or something like that. It's just you're not necessarily meaning it, but it's just the way we communicate, and like the subconscious is putting out little things like that, and it's just they fly under the radar. So for me, like self sabotage was came in the form of addiction through drinking and drug. Through the I didn't feel like I was worthy, so I would just put myself in and put myself in really bad situations where it was just there was no way that I would be successful in these endeavors, like with business, with women, with money, with love, with but physically, like I mean I maimed myself. Like I was in two different car accidents where I nearly killed myself. And so it's just like, and over and over and over. I mean, I did this for like, almost 40 years. So it was like, I think I was like
Yeah.
37 when I really started to turn around. And I kept running away from things. I ran away from my life. I ran away from my family. Like, and I was my last big wake up call. I mean, I was in Ho Chi Minh City I was sniffing heroin and, passing out in the gutters and like, in a third world country. It's like, I mean, there are
Yeah.
people in these countries that like, that work their butts off. And here I am, a privileged white guy coming in their country and just, being a complete idiot. Right. So it's,
So let's explore when you first started realizing that these were self sabotaging behaviors for you. Because, like you mentioned, that you grew up in a loving and supportive family who, incidentally, were still there, willing to support you when you were at your rock bottom.
oh, yeah.
And, but, like I remember reading, like when you were at school and you were a really promising athlete and you were still putting barriers in the way there at that young age. So
Mm-hmm.
when did you start realizing this was not coming from the outside world, that this was actually coming from within you?
When I started going through this work, like just a few years ago, like, yeah, maybe 5 years ago, because I started, like I'm 46 now. 37 is when I started my journey. It was like I've got to turn this around. But for me, it was just like when I was younger and all these things were happening to me. I was like I chalked it up as like bad luck or like just like my life was a constant life up until recently of frustration. And it was not until recently that I realized that frustration is our conscious intentions going against our subconscious programs. So the frustration that you feel is like a spotlight shining on like where you need to heal. So,
Yeah, so if
um,
anybody listening now is feeling frustrated, they need to take that as a sign that you're out of balance, you're out of
mm,
kilter.
yeah,
And
there's something going on there. Yeah, exactly.
so, what is the point you think people reach before they're finally willing to make that change? I mean, you went pretty low.
Yeah, I mean, I did it multiple times, like over and over and over. I don't know, like I'm hard headed as hell. Hopefully, if you're out there listening, yeah, you're not as hard headed as I am because my journey was pretty painful. But I mean,
Yeah.
there are people out there that have more painful journeys than me, right? So it's just all in, it's just what you can take. I think for me personally, I was just so hell bent and determined to do the things that I wanted to do. And like, for example, drinking, right? One of the big things with me with drinking was that I couldn't handle it. One drink was never, I could not have one drink. It was either 20 or nothing, right? And it was never nothing either, right? I always had alcohol in my system. And I was always frustrated that my friends, like, during the week, they didn't drink, right? And then on Friday night, they'd go out, they'd have some beers, and they'd party, have a good time. And then maybe Saturday, they might go out. But then Sunday, it was like, boom, they cut it off. And like, they did, I could never cut it off. I couldn't, like, there was no off switch for me. It was either all or nothing. And so that for me, that was like so frustrating because like, wow, why can they do it and I can't? And I was like, maybe I just, I'm just a kind of person that just, anyway, and I just rolled with it. And that affected, that addiction affected like every other area of my life too. So, and I didn't
Yeah.
see it like, and I had friends that, like I said, they would drink and, party and stuff like that. And they were successful. And I was like, I'm doing, I think I'm doing what I'm doing and what they're doing, but you're not. And so for me, that was just so frustrating just to not be able to see through my eyes what I thought I saw in others and that what they were doing, and then projecting that self on that what I thought they were doing on myself, and then it was just one big lie, right? It's just
So did they recognize that you had this problem with alcohol, and were they sharing that with you? Like, hey, mate, have you thought about slowing down and taking a break? Did they share that with you? Because quite often people are bystanders,
But yeah, most of the time,
witnessing this
most people just sit
addiction.
there and watch, right? It's just like
Yeah.
watching the train wreck happen. And I've, my dad, with my dad, I love my dad to death, but he passed away a few years ago. But he was the one that would tell me, and that was another big area of frustration for me because my dad was a big drinker, and it was like, don't tell me, don't even, you can't go there. Like, and then he did that with a lot of stuff in life. And I was always, and I think for me, that was why, like, I didn't listen to stuff like that because it sounded so hypocritical. It was like, how can you tell me when you do the same thing? Right. And like, so anyway, I blew it off. I was like, yes, man, whatever.
Yeah, I
So
remember my daughter saying that to me, like, Mom, you can't say that to me. That's been hypocritical. And I would say to her, yes, but I want you to be a better person than what I am, not to be doing the things that I am doing, because, what I'm trying to do is help you see a better way. And she was
mm,
going, yeah, but you better look at yourself too. If
mm,
you want me to do that, then you need to look in the mirror.
I
And
agree.
she was,
I totally agree. Because, like, I mean, if you're going to come with something like that, like, if you're going to tell somebody something, like, you better be living that life yourself, right? Or else,
yeah.
like, you have no weight. There's nothing to stand on.
Yeah. And especially from those people that we're close to, we just
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hear that sort of stuff from them. They can see our
Exactly.
faults really clearly. We just pass it off. So let's talk self awareness, because I know and I think this is a key in helping you realize that you need to go from where you are to a different place and space.
Totally.
So, and this is plays into people's readiness for change. So let's talk about self-awareness,
Let's
or
do it.
let's
Yeah.
you talk about it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, like you said, like it is the key. It is like it's what starts a process, and once you start it, it's a beautiful process. Like self awareness is like before you become self aware, before you start I like to talk about self awareness as like little bubbles, and like when you start the process that I went through. Like I went through Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza, who are unbelievable people and like have helped change the lives of so many. And also like Mind Valley courses, and I've done obscure healing and over in Taiwan where this guy was jabbing me with a stick, and I've done meditation and everything, and like nothing worked. And it was once I discovered the work that I do now where it was actually like bubbles popping up into my awareness, and like they would pop. And when they popped, it was like, that self awareness is you seeing, it's your conscious awareness of the things that you think, say, do, feel, the energy that you give off, coming into your awareness. And it's like when that happens, it is the most beautiful experience because you're like, whoa, I see it. Oh my God, I've been doing XYZ to get ABC, and now it's like, oh my God. And like once those awareness bubbles pop and you finally see it, for yourself, it's not your, hypocritical, family member telling you, but you see it for yourself. It's like, then in that moment, you have the choice to make a change. Because beforehand, you're not even aware you're doing it, right?
Yep.
So when
So
you
do
are
you?
aware, then the change happens or can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think that if you had awareness back when you were trying these other modalities, that they would have been effective for you? Or was it that you had to reach to this thing that really resonated with you, that you finally understood and finally got what was happening?
I
Because
think
I know
what I
many
do
of
now,
us
yeah, go ahead.
I think many of us go through that, like when we start on our healing journey or we
Mm,
start wanting to make change, we go through all these different modalities and
mm-hmm.
we may affect a little bit of change, but not lasting change.
Right.
And so then we try something else and we have great hope that this is going to be the thing that's going to, finally make me feel better.
I know,
And then
right?
we get disappointed.
I know, it's like over and over again, right?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
No, if I had, I can't. For me, like what I've done now, like everything else just kind of scratched the surface. Like with, for example, like with Tony Robbins' work, in his first book, Awaken the Giant, like the two big things he talks about is our beliefs, and our beliefs and convictions and things like that. And the thing is, like beliefs, you know, he's like, if you change your beliefs, then you can change your outcome. But I don't. For some people, that might work. For me, it did not work because I found that controlling those beliefs is the emotions that we program. So, like our inner child, those programmed emotions that our subconscious is holding onto, those emotions dictate our beliefs. They dictate our convictions. So, I had to go another level down to find this stuff. And so, like, other people can have success. Other people can have success with like affirmations, right? For me, like
Yeah.
affirmations were a bunch of BS because I would like, while I was saying it, I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. I'm like, this is like a belief or a way of living that I can adhere to. And while you're saying it, while you're playing your mind, it's fine, right? And that you're consciously aware of what you're saying you consciously agree with it. But as soon as you stop, and you get back into your routine, that's where the subconscious is in control. And the
Yes.
subconscious starts cueing those programs that affect your outcome. So I like to compare, when I was talking about frustration earlier, I like to compare it to two gears, like kind of locked together. So the one gear is the conscious intentions, and then the other gear is the subconscious programs. And so any frustration you're feeling is a friction right in the middle because the gears are grinding against each other, right? You want to do this, but your subconscious is like, no, sorry, that ain't happening. And so to find those emotions, you've got to find those emotions to change that, to get the gears in sync and working together. So where they're not, fighting each other.
Because they say that 90% or even greater is our subconscious mind at play, and
Mm,
we only have less than 10% awareness or conscious thoughts. So you're trying to change, like 10% is trying to change the 90% that's ingrained, that's,
true.
highly, highly programmed.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not even be aware of the triggers that activate that subconscious program to click into gear. And it can be something as little as when you were a small child and somebody saying or doing something to you,
Or
and
even
that
looking at you
is,
wrong, right? I mean, it can, or a butterfly
yes,
landing on your shoulder. I mean, it can come like you can't even. There are instances that that I find through this work, and it's like there's you picking up energy or like a feeling from someone else, right? Maybe it's your dad walking in the room and he had a bad day, and it's like you didn't even know about it.
yes.
So
That's for me, because like I was living in a family where nobody was hypersensitive except for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would walk into the room and know instantly when things were off or there was tension or friction, and I'd ask about it and everybody would deny it, and what are you talking about? Stop being so silly. And so I grew up thinking, man, I'm really weird because I read all this stuff and everybody's telling me it's not happening, and
No, you're not
and
weird.
it
You're very special.
never made sense to me until many, many years later. But this is what it's all about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
These are how the patterns get ingrained in our thinking or in our subconscious. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
thinking really. But let's talk about thinking, and in particular overthinking, and what that does for us.
Overthinking, man. Wow, it is a constant loop that we get stuck in. And I found this one trick. First of all, like clearing the emotions, clearing a lot of your subconscious emotions, like really clears the clutter. But even like in present day moments, there's sometimes where I myself get myself caught up in overthinking. And I know I said I hate mantras, but this this works every single time. Anytime I find myself overthinking something, for example, in February, that's winter. I live in Taiwan, so February is winter in Taiwan. We have like 2 or 3 weeks of cold weather, and in the winter, the wind shifts, and obviously it brings the cold air down. But with it, there's pollution that comes from the north, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty soupy. The pollution is pretty gross, and so I remember this year I was thinking like, I got into this loop like, oh, it's cold. I hate cold weather. And then like the pollution, I can't breathe. And I was like, what am I doing in this town where, I'm getting polluted and I'm, like my lungs are getting blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, and I started, and then that loop started getting any bigger. Oh my God, I'm stuck. I'm stuck here. Why am I in here? And so, we all do it. But the thing that
Yep.
I've figured that I've found to clear that is to ask yourself, is it true? 3 words. That's it. Is it true? Is what you're thinking true? And 99.9% of the time, boom, you can dissolve whatever you're thinking right there in the instant. Because you can think like, the question that I was asking myself, am I stuck? No, I'm not. I choose to be here. Like most of the time, it's nice, and my wife and I, her family lives here, and blah blah blah. So, no, I'm not stuck. It's my choice.
Oh, that is such a good phrase. Is what
Yeah,
you're
totally
thinking
use that.
true?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. That's key for me. I'm going to use that from now on because you just find yourself sucked into it without even realizing that you're doing it.
Exactly.
And then you go, oh,
Exactly.
for goodness sake. It's like
Yeah, here it
when
is
you
right
go to
here. I got
work.
it on here. I got it on this sticky note right here, just right above my computer, and I like look at it, when I need it.
And that's great. Like putting it on your mirror, like when you go to brush your teeth or something like that, or on your
Mm.
computer, like
Yeah,
that. And
until
I
it
know
sticks
it's
in
the
there.
same like when we go to work, and like now I just think it's your choice how you're going to be at work regardless of what is happening around you. And so I always try to make my days, set my days up so they're going to be great,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of whether somebody else is having a bad mood or something like that. So
Right.
yeah, and that's what we don't realize. We get sucked into everybody else's emotions and what's happening there.
Exactly.
Now, you talk about change can happen in an instant and that you don't have to do weeks or years of meditation or whatever else
Mm. Right.
that, yet many of us spend years trying to make different forms of healing work, like you were explaining earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk to me about what you mean that we can make change happen in an instant.
When when you're ready, and when you find the work for example, like the work that you and I found, right, like muscle testing. For
Yeah.
me, that was just like it worked. Like as soon as I sat down and I had an individual run me through a program. It was actually, you're in Australia, right?
I'm in New Zealand.
Oh, you're in New Zealand. Okay, well, from your neighbor
Yeah,
in
not
Australia.
Australian.
Sorry about that. I had a guy run me through a program that was created by an Australian, your neighbor, and it's called the Spiral. And basically it uses muscle testing and then a system of looking for emotions running up the chakras. And as soon as we started doing that, as soon as he started muscle testing and finding like these emotions that I'd locked away, boom, like instantly, within the first session that we did, my life started changing immediately. I'm not somebody that cries, but I cried like hours after our session. During our session, I just lost. It was like a dam, just like, and then
Yeah.
the pretty much most of the day, I was with my aunt at the time, back visiting her in America, and I would just be walking around the house, and she'd say something to me. I'd look at her, and I just start crying again. And it went on for that, like for the whole course. It was amazing. Just immediate. You know, once you find these emotions and you connect with them, like that is it. That's it. The change can happen just like that.
Can I share something with you? You know, just
Of course.
recently I lost somebody very special to me who I just only got into those early stages of getting to know, but we instantly clicked. And I think from all the years of healing after losing my daughter, I'd opened my heart so wide
Uh-huh.
that I was ready. I was ready for this relationship. So everything was wide open. And of course, when he died, it was like, oh my gosh. And I cried. Honestly, I cried and I cried and I cried like I never allowed myself to cry for my daughter because I was still quite guarded and
Mm,
quite had all those other things in place to protect me back then.
mm-hmm.
And this has been a really surprising experience for me, but good, you know, like allowing myself to cry. I've just let myself do it because I
Mm-hmm.
needed to release that emotion. And I didn't realize the feelings I'd already built up over that short time we were together. So I'm at a place now where, you know, it still hurts and it's still a little bit painful, but I'm, you know, functioning quite well. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
so I
I mean,
can,
I'm
yeah,
so proud of you for like for reaching that point, and like and realizing that after you this is after you did the muscle testing, right? After you learned to
yeah,
do the muscle testing,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
like now you've learned to like to let it go and to not hold on to things, because that us holding on to things, that's how we embody, right? We embody these emotions by hanging on to them and suppressing them, right? And by
yeah.
by letting it go and letting yourself be, be vulnerable and also and grieve, that's part of the healing process. So
Yeah.
that's good job.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And, you know, I'm so grateful because I have got these tools at my disposal that
Oh
have,
yeah.
you know, helped me through, you know, something that could have easily derailed me big time if I
Hmm.
hadn't had these in place. So you can take things very, very personal. And this wasn't personal. This was just the unfortunate circumstances of life and things happen. And, you know, there was a lot I needed to learn from this as well, which I have been. So that's been really good. Yeah. So, what are the key things do you think people going through your system? Let's talk about your system. Let's first talk about your system, Amo Ni,
Okay.
and how you came to create this, and what it is, and how it's going to work for people.
Amo Ni. Okay. Amo in Spanish means I love, and Ni in Chinese means you. So together they literally translate into I love you. And I came up with that phrase. The first book that I read when I started my healing journey was called "Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It" or something like that. And I remember, so I'm a big fan of sticky notes. You've already seen that. So I put the sticky note on my mirror in a bathroom that said "I love you," and I actually looked at that. I went through this for a few days, maybe a few weeks. I can't remember, but I remember looking at it and I finally ripped it down because I was like, I don't love myself. I'm such a you know,
Yeah.
piece of junk, right? I'm just gross. I didn't. And it wasn't until I went through this work that I was able to say that. And so I was like, yes, this is like, it's a perfect name for it. So we use muscle testing. Muscle testing for me is like one of the most profound things I've ever discovered, because from the time that we're born, until whatever your age you are right now, that we we just shut off our voice. We shut off our inner voice, that intuition. We just don't listen to ourselves. We start off listening to our parents, then it's our friends, then it's our teachers, then it's our workmates and, boss. And now most of us walk around with a mobile phone. The first time we ever have a question, we just look in there, right? All the answers that we have are inside. And muscle testing reestablishes that connection, reestablishes your connection with your body and your subconscious, which is where all these emotions are hidden. So, if you can, if you can muscle test on yourself, the way I do it is use my left hand as my control hand. I use my index finger and my thumb, and then with my right hand, I use my pinky finger and my thumb. Make two links like that, and yes is strong, no, and they break. And then we go through and we look for, and then we use a meridian chart to tag the emotions on the body. So it's like a map. So we find out, if I have a situation that's bothering me, then are the emotions attached? I don't know, this new job that you're looking for. All right, yeah, okay. Is it fire, earth, metal, water? Okay, it breaks on water. Is it bladder, or kidney? Okay, it breaks on kidney. Then is it fear, dread, anxiety? Okay, it's anxiety, right? And then they're clearing points. They're clearing points for that anxiety, which is like right under the collarbones. And we clear that, and we go through the find other emotions that are attached to you finding that job. With Amo Ni, we use the heaviest emotions that are found in each of the 7 chakras, and then at the end we do a final sweep of anything that came up, any recurring patterns that came up, physical. I like to think of our body as like kind of like our old high school hallway, just like littered with lockers. But instead of books and papers, we keep emotions in these lockers. Some people, like for instance, me, my big hang up is like my right leg. I've had multiple injuries, and like that's one of my storage spots for my emotions. It could be in your heart, it could be in your liver, it could be in your lower back, it could be in your neck. But our body embody. It means can't speak. When we embody emotions, it means we're hanging on to and like we're putting these emotions in our body. That's where we store them. And an emotion like anger, it's got a very heavy vibration, right? Whereas a vibration like love or joy has got a very flowy vibration, right? And these anger or frustration or guilt or shame, but these heavy emotions in your body, and they're sitting there and they're just like, and they're just they end up causing disease. They manifest injuries. And, so we go in and we find them and we let them go. So with Amo Ni, we use the muscle testing, the meridian chart. And then I found this through trial and error, or me using the work, the Amo breath. So Amo in Spanish means I love. So we're basically healing. We're using this breath to heal with love. So it's a 3-part breath. So it's AMO with the A, with the ah, it's like ah. We're bringing light down from the universe down to the crown of our head, down through the throat and into the chest. And with the M, so we're imagine that breath like swirling around the clockwise in our chest, in our heart center, our healing heart center. And with the O, we smooth that energy out. So we use muscle testing to find it. Then we use the meridian chart to locate it. We use meridian release points to connect with that energy in our body. Then we use the Amo breath to help move it. And with that humming part of the Amo breath, that hum actually stimulates the vagus nerve, which is another helpful like emotional reset, right? It syncs the parasympathetic and the sympathetic systems together and helps us and it's just like boom. And with the O, we send it out. And then at the very end, we use neuro-linguistic programming to grease the wheels of intentions and send the person further down the path of their hope and dreams by using creative visualization to magnetize the future into the present. And yeah, it's an amazing system. And it's healed my life and my wife's and the friends and the people that I work with. And yeah, I love it. It's amazing.
It does. It sounds very, very beautiful. And look, I was just sitting here, just connecting with everything you were saying because it's so similar to my own experiences. And to know that you can go from utter, absolute despair to feeling love, just
Mm,
this beautiful feeling of love and compassion for others. And I think something really key in what you were saying was, you were talking about I love you, you being yourself.
mm,
And that has the ability to change every cell in our body when we
mm.
actually believe it, when we believe and start to love ourselves. That is a magical transformation in itself. And then you were talking about the different emotions and the frequencies. Have you looked at heart math?
Oh yeah,
There it's
we had
yes.
that. We bought the the meditation tool, the one that you like the sensor that you like clip on your ear. We used that for a while.
Yeah, because that's wonderful at showing people just what the emotions do to your heart rhythm. Those anger, frustration,
Hmm.
depression, all of those can be those quite jagged emotions of a heart rhythm. And then when you come to love and compassion, and it just goes into these beautiful
Exactly.
undulating waves, and
Yeah,
and
that's one of the
really
things I
that's
learned from Joe Dispenza, and he does a lot of work with the Heart Math Institute. So like, I mean, it, like I said, I mean, I tried Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza's work, and like, no, that didn't for
mm,
me. That didn't work. But like, I mean, I gained so much from those guys, right? That I apply in my own work now. So I mean, they really
yeah.
help. They're like foundational work for me. So really
Yeah, definitely. And
amazing
I think
individuals.
everything's part of your journey too, isn't it? You get
Mm,
exposed to different things and you may not need them just at that moment, but then they come in down the line, when you're
exactly.
dealing with a client or you go, I heard Joe talking about that.
Exactly.
Do you think all the things that you've experienced have led you to this point in your life now that you needed to have this awareness and understanding to allow you to reach a place of knowing that we need to stop looking externally for the answers and instead be looking inward for our own healing?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I would not go back and change anything in my life. I put myself through a lot of pain, and but I am where I am now, and I love it. I mean, I'm doing like meaningful work. I'm helping change people's lives. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, to sit with someone and take them through this work and then like watch them come out on the other side. Like, in some instances, like a physically changed person. It's like, wow, it's just
Yeah.
like, and like the thing is, like, I'm not doing this, right? I mean, I'm basically like, I'm standing in front of them, maybe, I don't know how far, but I'm standing in front, my hand extended, and I'm just like, here you go, let's go. This is the way we go, and you follow me. But like this work, when I'm working with someone, like the muscle testing, and I'm helping them find the emotions, but like the clearing, like they do everything themselves, right? They
Yeah.
connect with emotions on their own body. They use the Amo breath to clear it. They use the visualization to create, their own future. So like, I'm helping out, but like they are doing the healing, which I love because like it's so empowering because they realize that like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. Yes, you are. Thank you. Finally, you are doing it. And that's like one thing that, and let me start off by saying this: like, I would not be here today if it was not for modern medicine, and some of the. I had a staph infection in one of my accidents, so I had like major antibiotics running through my system. I had a pick line running straight into my heart because the antibiotics were
Yeah.
so strong, like it had to
Yeah.
go into my heart, or like it would have collapsed a regular vein, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, like I would not be here if it wasn't for modern medicine. But having said that, the last century, the pharmaceutical industry has done a really good job of marketing their their services, or their pills and potions, and shots and things like that, and making us believe that is where the answer is, right? Like
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
healing that we are dependent on that pill or that shot or that cough syrup or whatever it is. But like healing, they've basically stolen our hope and taking it out of our own selves and put it into a pill. So you think about the way that, I'm not sure how it works in New Zealand, but in America, like if most people, if they get sick, they go to a doctor. Then the doctor writes them a permission slip that they take to another doctor at a pharmacy, who then gives them the instrument that is supposed to make them heal, right? I mean, if you've read the books that we've read, it's like there's the placebo is more effective than a lot of these drugs that they give us, right?
Yeah.
So they've stolen our hope and put it in these, and I really don't agree with that. I mean, there's a time and a place, in life-threatening diseases and and life-threatening situations, yeah. But like for the common cold and a lot of the stuff that they are doling out medicine for, I totally disagree with it.
So let's talk about, because I believe for myself, when I work with other people and do healing, similar to what you're doing, that these are people who are really, really vulnerable. They are often trying to deal with or come to terms with things that are very deep, very shameful, very soul destroying. And you really need to be able to have a relationship of trust to be able to connect, to be able to take them on this healing journey. And for me, it's all the experiences I've had, all the bad ones, all the things that I have survived, that people intuitively know that I get them. I'm not judging them. I've been in that place myself. And so that allows them to feel safe, and then it allows them to trust and to release. Is that what you find also?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, my journey through drugs and alcohol and basically running away from, things is different. But, someone else's journey with food addiction, it's basically the same, right? We're all,
Yeah.
we're all, we're all here to free ourselves of those programs, to get free of the subconscious routine that we put ourselves in. Once you free yourself from that routine, then you can be free. Then you can actually step out of the routine, out of the wheel, out of the program, and see things for what they are. Eleanor Roosevelt once said that she recommended that people do like one uncomfortable thing each day. And I think that is so important, because what it does is it takes us out of our routine. It just gets us to, try. I'm not saying go like hike a mountain or, but just, instead of sitting down the TV, maybe do some walk around the block, or, just do something that gets you out of your routine and just pushes yourself a little bit further. Because it's when you're pushing yourself further and you're not sitting in your comfortable routine, that's when you're able to step out, and that's when you're able to reflect at what's going on, and that's when you're in your conscious mind. So the more you can do that, the more you are conscious. So
Yeah, such an important point, being in the here and now and not just going on automatic through our life, through our days. Yeah,
these tools, the tools that we use, like the mobile phone, the computers, all these like work, things that we use to keep ourselves busy, those are like the playthings of the subconscious. So, the recent movement, like this slow living movement, like, that stuff works. If you can pull yourself back, and, that's when you're in the conscious, that's when you're.
Yeah. What are the key things that people are going to experience if they go through your Amo Ni system?
Change, just immediate change, reflective change, looking in the mirror and seeing yourself for who you are, and not only being okay with that, but appreciating that. There's some very ugly things that each and every one of us does to ourselves. And, once you see that, then you can, once you're aware, again, that self-awareness, once you have that self-awareness and you see the things that you've done to mess up your life, then you can have, you can say, all right, wow, now that I know what I've been doing, I can either keep doing it because I know what result that'll get, or I can choose to do something different. And that, I mean, that's the beauty. It's choice. Change is choice. It's a, me or you holding a mirror in front of yourself and actually seeing, through the surface level and what's really in charge. So it's
And it's
amazing.
so incredibly freeing, isn't it, when you reach that place of totally being able to accept who you are and how you think and how you do things and not be reliant on what other people think and feel about you. You're
Exactly.
independent of that. And
Yeah.
it's just such, oh gosh, for me, I spent my life worrying about what other people thought. And, and
Waste of
once I
time, right?
released, yeah, absolutely. Because you're never going to please everyone. And when I started to tap in and just start to live and do what I wanted to, how I wanted to, and I always knew I was a pretty good person, but I just didn't believe that enough beforehand. And, now when I do this, like when I talk to people like you, it just fills my heart. And I can't describe that feeling to others. It's just my passion. I just love doing it and I want to keep doing it. And I have the other job just to keep the wheels ticking over.
There you go.
But,
Keep going.
this is my passion. And when you find your passion, life looks good, I tell you. So
It
I
really
want to
does.
sort of finish up with a couple of questions that I ask everybody. So, what's
No
the
problem.
best thing that has happened to you either so far today or this week?
Okay,
The
so far
best thing.
today, all right. Probably I went for a bike ride this morning before I came on. So that was nice, and yeah, it was actually beautiful. It's quiet. So I went out at like 5:30 in the morning and rode around. We live on a little mountain that overlooks the Pacific coast, or the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, rode down the mountain around a little village that we live down the mountain, then back up. So yeah, that was nice. And then I came back up, and my wife was sitting on the porch with her singing bowl, and she was just chiming her
Oh,
singing bowl, and I got to come back up to that. So that was it's a good way to start the day.
oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I like that. What is your proudest moment in your life to date?
Proudest moment, becoming the person that I am now, the change that I made. I think probably number one would be in beating addiction, because when I right before I stopped drinking, I was at a case of beer a day, like 24 beers.
Ooh.
And I would drink Jack Daniels at night to put myself to sleep. And I can actually have a beer now. So I mean, I have one in
Wow.
the refrigerator. I know, right? So I haven't had one in like 6 months, but I have that choice now. Like all the emotions are gone. Like there's no more attachment to addiction. I don't. The reason I drank was because I thought I was a bad person and I was self
Yeah.
sabotaging, right? So just like
Yeah.
destroying myself. And yeah, now I mean, I live a very healthy life now, and I just kind of see alcohol as kind of more or less poison. So but it's nice to have one, every once in a while. But it's been so long. I have that choice. It's nice. It's nice. That's a good thing.
That's an incredible turnaround, Bo.
Yeah, I agree.
Congratulations.
Pretty cool.
Okay. And so do you still have times when you have those dark moments when your day turns to custard? And I want to know, if you have those moments, how do you pivot out of them?
That's a good point. So yeah, actually, a few weeks ago, I actually kind of got down, and instead of this time, what I do now with emotions is when I first started doing this work, and if I started feeling like really bad, I would just clear. I would just clear. I'd find the emotion, I would clear it, and then I would just move on. And I was always like, I was always good. But I gotten to the point now where I kind of like I like experiencing the highs and lows, right? So I'll sit with an emotion. This was a Sunday, like a few weeks ago, and I just wasn't feeling. I was just felt like I just wanted to sleep in and just I didn't want to deal with anything, and I did that, and I went through that emotion, and then like later on that afternoon, I got up and I went out to the beach and enjoyed my day, and that was it. I just moved through it, and it was kind of fun actually to be able to recognize the situation that I was in, to be able to be in that situation, to stay, to sit with it, that situation, and then move out of it.
That's lovely. I always say, once you start to acknowledge it, then you can shift from it, but you're not suppressing it. So that's really key. Yeah, great. That's great. What takeaways would you like to leave our listeners with? Especially, we've got so many people going through grief at the moment in all different forms. I think on a scale that's probably unprecedented, and I just, what takeaways would you like to leave our listeners?
Well, you might not feel like it at the moment, but it does get better. Life does get better. And I guess I don't like telling people don't do this or don't do that, but I think try moving toward a place where you are not, where you are letting things go, where you are where you are beginning to take care of yourself, because letting grief or any other any other heavy emotion get a hold of you for too long is, that emotion is controlling you. So take steps, even if they're baby steps, to move out of that grief, to move forward and move on. And the minute that you start taking care of yourself, the minute that you really focus on you and get like a little bit selfish, that's when change really starts. That's when you start when you start moving the wheels.
Okay. Those are really great pieces of advice there, Bo. Thank you. So,
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
Anybody listening and they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that? We're going to have it in the episode notes, but, share away now.
Yeah, no worries. The best way is on the website. I'm really working on the YouTube channel too. A lot of the other social stuff is kind of obligatory. So I don't, YouTube and the website. The website is amoniclear.com. So AMONICLEAR.com. Yeah.
Great. Hey, Bo, it's been absolutely wonderful to just chat with you today and just explore this beautiful system that you've created, Amo Ni. And, as soon as I read your profile, it just clicked with me and I went, here's the man after my own heart. Because I just know how powerful it is. And, I've just really enjoyed our discussion today. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, me too, Helen. I really so much. Thank you so much for sharing your platform with me so I can help spread the Amo Ni message. So, for that, I'm so grateful. So I really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for listening. I hope you got some real value from this episode. Let me know how I'm doing, or if there's a topic you'd like covered, by clicking on the Healing to Be You Gmail link or going to the Healing to Be You website. To get notified of new episodes, hit the subscribe button and please share if you know of someone who could benefit from this episode. Until next time, be kind to you and take good care.